So who here, you can just put it in the chat, who here has noticed any difference in their muscle mass, in their, maybe if not muscle mass, the kind of tone of their body since hitting maybe 45, 50? If you have, just put 3 in the chat. If you haven't yet, put 4 in the chat. If you've noticed any difference, 3 for a yes. Yeah, so quite a lot of you. So it's no surprise because estrogen or estradiol is believed to be the most important contributor in menopause associated loss of muscle mass. So we lose muscle mass anyway as we age, both men and women. Sarcopenia is due to that kind of as we age, we lose the muscle mass. But a lot of it is due for women. There is a difference between men and women. So men lose it as well because as their testosterone decline, they also lose it. But we have an accelerated, lucky old us, decline in strength. And it accelerates, the research has shown that it accelerates even more post-menopause. So once you've gone through menopause, so just to clarify, perimenopause is the stage when it can be any age really, but typically it's between like early 40s to 50 when you're beginning to notice changes in your hormone cycle. For some people they don't notice because we're in the Mirena coil, but so you might have other symptoms like irritability, hot flushes, trouble sleeping, anger rages, things like that. They could be a sign of perimenopause even when you're having your cycle. And then menopause is actually the term given for the very day 12 months after you last had a period. So difficult for lots of people to know because maybe you don't have a period. And then after that, you're considered postmenopause. So the minute your periods have stopped for a year, you're actually postmenopause, which can be confusing because people use the term menopausal, and actually once you're past that 12 months, you're post-menopause. And that's when it's believed that actually that muscle quality decline speeds up. Lucky old us. So estrogen and testosterone are both important for muscle structure and function. It's why you probably hear so much nowadays in the news about women asking for testosterone supplementation, not just for muscle structure, but libido as well. So testosterone is responsible for muscle growth. Estrogen improves muscle mass and strength. And it also grows the collagen between the connective tissues. So who here, answer 5 for yes, 6 for no in the chat, has also noticed that maybe their joints ache a little bit more. Maybe they're getting more achy, maybe even that sometimes burny sensation. Yeah, so it looks like most of you in your joints, and that's because of the decline in estrogen. So that can affect that kind of connective tissue collagen and give you that kind of like horrible feeling of like aches and pains, or sometimes I get it in my ankles, like a bit more of a burning sensation. So what can you do about it? There is lots you can do about it. Otherwise, obviously, you wouldn't be doing this coaching with me. So there's lots you can do about it. So we're getting on to resistance training. Obviously, lots of you in the community are doing resistance training with me, maybe for the first time, maybe you've already started to do it, but then your consistency is not there. And so what's really important to understand about resistance training is that it's not enough to just start lifting weight and then you lift the same weight for like a year, 6 months, 3 months, because then you don't build muscle, because actually it's the science of progressively overloading your muscles so that they actually grow new fibers. So you can think of it in a number of ways. Progressive overload can mean that either, in 4 to 6 weeks, you increase the weight that you're lifting. So I'm always asking on the coaching app about what your effort level is on your resistance training. So for instance, if you're answering 3 or 4, you're not lifting heavy enough, for instance. So, making sure that you're working to a load that is challenging your muscles is really important, and is definitely why I increase what people are lifting every like 4 to 6 weeks. So you can do that, Or for instance, for those who are working out from home, which a lot of you are, and you don't have access maybe to being able to your own gym or being able to purchase more gym equipment, you can also do progressive overload by increasing the intensity. So that could be, for instance, doing the workout, the exercise for longer, or decreasing the rest time. So yeah, just putting in here. And then a third one can be increasing the complexity of the workouts. So some of you who've been training with me for a long time might be doing things like snatches now, or kettlebell get-ups, things like that. Whereas when you first start with me, unless I know that you've done a really have done a lot of resistance training before, then you'll be starting with things that you will build your foundations on, because you can't do it too quickly, otherwise it'll cause injury. So someone asked me this also recently on a check-in form as well about DOMS. So DOMS stands for delayed muscle soreness, onset muscle soreness. So this is what happens when you are doing a workout. You'll experience it usually 2 days after your workout, where your muscles are like really sore. And if you're not used to it, I've had women say, oh, I think I've injured myself. And actually, it's totally normal. And you kind of do want that kind of response, because what happens as you use weights, and also when you're using something like if you're doing HIIT style training, so for instance, like fartlek speed intervals, so you sprint as fast as you can for 10 seconds, recover for a minute and do it again. And what you're doing is creating microscopic tears in the muscle fibers, which is totally normal. You kind of want to do that. And then as it repairs, the microscopic tears obviously are causing that kind of like that soreness. And as it repairs, that's what's building the new muscle fiber. So you kind of need that response and that kind of progressive overload, which is why it's so important to track what you're lifting. So actually you're aware of what you're lifting, so you're aware of what you need to increase to. And also, I think what's good about that is it means that you are empowered through your strength training. I know lots of women at first avoid strength work or the gym because I think it's boring, and they'll do loads of running instead. Running is not great in and of itself if you're menopausal, perimenopausal, postmenopausal. You really need the strength work in order to build that muscle. So the other factors, though, that are really important in building muscles, it's not just about the strength work. It is about your rest and recovery. So that can mean sleep. It can mean workouts that trigger your parasympathetic nervous system. So yoga, Pilates, for instance. But it also could be a simple thing of going for a walk at lunchtime, reading, like taking 5 minutes out to shut your eyes. That's all stuff that just clicks in with your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the opposite of your fight and flight response, which is what we do more when we are working hard. So you need both of those factors, and you need to have that kind of recovery, so you'll notice, or maybe you don't notice yet, anyone who's coaching with me, you'll get some harder sessions, and then normally it'll be interspersed with something that's a little bit easier, and then you'll get yoga, because you need that full combination of workouts in order for your muscles to recover, and then it's through the recovery that you get stronger, because you need those muscle fibers to repair. And then nutrition, which is why I'm always banging on about protein. You can't produce protein in the body. It can only be, it only comes from the food that you eat. Now, as probably all of you, my free challenge, my community, I bang on about protein all the time when I'm commenting on any of your nutritional intake. You know, minimum for everyone, you should be aiming for 90 grams of protein, and that's minimum. So, and I know lots of people still have trouble with that. So you really want that protein in there, because without it, that muscle fiber is not going to repair. So you could be doing all this like working out, and then you're not giving your body the fuel it needs to repair that muscle, to grow the muscle. And then, of course, the other factor is HRT. So some studies, it's the research is conflicted at the moment, as with any studies around women's health, there's not enough of it. You know, there are some studies that I've come across that's been done on rats. They're male rats, they're not female rats. So, you know, but some studies have shown that HRT in postmenopausal women has created greater muscle quality in those training compared to those without HRT. So there's that option as well. And that's it. So if there's any questions that anyone has about this topic, or if anyone doesn't understand progressive overload, wants a little bit more on that, or anything within your own program, you can either ask in the chat, so you can just type it in there, or you can come on and unmute yourself. So maybe just put it in the chat if you have a question and you want to come on, or you just want to ask in the chat. Because I know there's quite a few people who are definitely not still, no worries, Gemma, are still not hitting their protein. So and hopefully now you should understand why the protein is so important to have. So it's worth reflecting back on the last 2 or 3 days in your nutritional, where you've input your nutrition. Look at the charts. You'll have a wheel which will have all the percentages on, and see if you're hitting that kind of 35% every day with your protein. If you're not, look back, see where those big drops are. Most people struggle with the protein in the morning. Yeah, I'll be getting something around 11%. So if you're thinking about 3 meals of 30 grams, sorry, 11 grams, then you're obviously really short. So you definitely need something in your snack to compensate for that drop in the protein in the morning. So protein sources, you know, you've got your fish, your eggs. Is worth pointing out that eggs have got only 6 grams of protein. I see a lot of women eating eggs like they're a small child and having one egg. That's what you give a baby. So like 2 or 3 eggs. If you can do 2 eggs, 1 egg white, and then that will give you that'll give you at least 18 grams of protein. So you're somewhere near the mark. So you should be always looking at this macro density, always looking at your protein. Protein takes your body longer to digest, so it means you're fuller for longer. Sample of protein throughout the day, not just meals. So snacks. So your snacks, you should all be having a protein shake. I suggest that you have it in the afternoon, mainly because it's normally around 2 to 4 o'clock that most people, men and women, go, oh, I'm really tired, or oh, I'm just going to have a snack because I'm bored. Actually, you're not bored, you're not tired, you're tired because you're losing focus because you're actually hungry, but you just don't feel it. So that's why I suggest protein shake between 2 and 4. But there are things like biltong's really good. There's a smoked salmon and an oat cake. You're looking for like really good lean sources of protein. Yeah, so Gemma's saying she had a protein shake with yogurt and fruit. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so exactly. Things like that. Look back at, I will add some more in my main group, my main coaching group. There are some more snacks, but you should have some snacks on all the recipe sheets as well. But the other thing about snacks is if you are constantly feeling like you want a snack, the other thing that you should think about, which previous clients have said it's been a game changer, is when you start feeling hungry, maybe, and you think, oh, I'll just have a snack. I'll have a snack because I've just got to finish this bit of work. And then you've had 5 snacks because you don't finish that bit of work, and then your lunch gets really, really pushed back. Just think about eating your meals earlier. Like I get up and train about 6 or 7 o'clock. I'm normally quite hungry by 11. And so I will have my lunch at 11:30. And that it can be a bit of a game changer for people. So thinking about, rather than, oh, what are good snacks, think about making your meals more nutrient dense. So actually you're fuller for longer. And then maybe considering eating earlier. So eating your lunch earlier and then eating your dinner. What so many people do is that habit of coming in from work and thinking, I'll just have a snack to unwind and then I'll make my dinner. And then suddenly an hour, 90 minutes has passed, you sat in front of the TV and you've eaten quite a lot of snacks. As soon as you get home, or you're at home already, as many of us are nowadays, just make your dinner earlier. And actually, you may find that you don't need as many snacks either. But for the free challenge group, I will put some more snack ideas in your group. And the other thing to remember about building muscle is obviously there is an aesthetic to it. There's nothing wrong with saying you want to look better and you're doing it for aesthetics, but it's also to remember that without that muscle mass, I'm sure we've all got aging parents, and I'm sure that many of us see the difference between 70 to 75, 75 to 80 in our parents' mobility, maybe over that age. The only thing that will prevent you being like that is building your muscle. And if you start it now and continue it and be consistent with it, then hopefully you'll live a fuller life and be able to have that freedom to move a little bit more, because once you lose that mobility, then your world becomes quite small. So it's thinking about the long-term purpose of that muscle growth as well, not just the aesthetics. In terms of, if you think about like a kilo of fat, and just kind of demonstrate my hands, a kilo of fat might be like that big, 2 hands worth. A kilo of muscle will be 1 hand's worth. So it's going to instantly make your body look smaller, because muscle fiber is denser. So if there's any other questions that anyone wants to ask me on their particular course, what they're doing, or on this presentation, let me know in the chat. No, well, if that's it, thanks for joining me. And if something occurs to you later on, then just ask in the group, because if it occurs to you, then it will be something that someone else will be thinking of as well. So ask in the group rather than direct message me. Have a nice, oh, hang on, I've got one more message. Thanks for that. Eating early is a good shout. Yeah, give that a go. Let me know if that works. It definitely worked for a lot of people. Thanks for joining. Have a great evening, and hopefully see you all next week. And obviously I'll be in the group in between.